right, so we're right about at 3:50, so we're going to go get started. I'm going to give you as much time as possible to dive in and play around with some things. So as we said, this is the Padlet that we are going to use. It has all of the resources. We are going higher tech. Yay, technology. So also saving paper. My original quote for printing was over $3,000 if I wanted to print. So expect this to be a trend as we move forward because printing in color and shipping is astronomical. It was actually cheaper for me to upgrade to first class, print them at home, and put them on an airplane than it was for me to get them printed out. So we're here today, AI prompt writing for educators, maximize outputs and save time. Those of you who have submitted proposals for COABE, last year's came out really early, their request for proposals. So since that time, I've changed the title to the art and science of prompt writing. And when you start to really dive deep into it, you start to really then hone in on where you want to go. And so we call it an art and we call it a science because there's a little bit of both to each. Go ahead and shut that door.
What's a prompt?
Yes. Well, I'm glad you are here. No, I'm joking. Because if you don't know what the prompt is, then we definitely need to have some conversations. But we're going to learn a lot of things here. So my name is Kim Glenn. I am the Managing Director of Innovative Learning Solutions at an organization called EDSI. We are a workforce development and consulting company. I've been in L&D for over 20 years, and I have been in adult ed PD almost 15. So I say over 10 because I don't feel like I can say 15 yet. I work with AALPD as well, the Association of Adult Literacy Professional Developers, and we provide PD for people that do PD. And the great thing about that is that allows us to also be, I am the COABE liaison, and I review all of the professional development proposals that come into COABE, and they get scored and graded and accepted. So I am their strand liaison. I'm here with some colleagues. So I have my producer or presenter buddy, Jennifer Blanchard. And she'll be manning the online course for me. And I have Brianna Kurth with me. And she is going to be helping you guys out in the room as we do things. So if you have any problems technology-wise, just give her a little wave. But let's go ahead and get this party started. So our objectives for today, we're going to keep it kind of simple because I want to focus really in on the quality of the prompt that we're writing. And so our first one is, by the end of this, you're going to be able to evaluate how much impact you actually have over the content that ChatGPT gives you. So I think a lot of us feel at times that you're at the mercy, but there's so much more control that you have, and you're going to learn about that control today. Then here at EDSI, we always like to come up with clever little names for things. So in a process of our team going through teaching prompt writing over and over again in various different industries, we noticed that there were some themes and some trends about best practices. And so what we did is we created the clap 3 times, because there's 3 B's. So if I say it, we can all clap. But now I can't clap because I have a mic in my hand. So we all can clap anyway. But basically, there's 3 P's in the clap. We're going to go through each of those. And then when you use those to help you rewrite your prompts, you're going to get better quality responses coming out the door. So that's going to be the primary piece of our time together today. And then finally, you are actually going to get an opportunity to create a lesson plan using the clap to the 3rd method. All right. And so when you create that lesson plan, you'll have options. You can work with a small group. You can work with the person next to you, or you can choose to do it alone. Completely up to you. But that's what we're doing. So our agenda, we're going to first touch base on where are we 2.5 years later? How are we feeling? Then we're going to go through the methodology, our CLAP methodology. And then I am going to do a demo. Now, full disclosure, the Wi-Fi isn't going to allow me to do a live demo, but I got lots of backups, so don't worry. But we ran into some streaming and I couldn't even get logged in on the line because it's too much. So Wi-Fi can't hold it, but it will be just like it's live. You'll see the exact output as it comes. And then you guys are going to get to work together, or if you're online, you are more than welcome to kind of do it on your own.
Right, we're having some issues with sound. Just gonna make sure you are unmuted right on your keyboard.
I am unmuted.
You got it. We're good.
Okay,
Sorry.
very well. Thanks, Jen. And then we'll just do like a quick like wrap up, aha moment. What is one thing you took away from our time today? So our first section is really reflecting, right? Where are we 2.5 years later? And so November of 2022, we all know that it was released, and the original definition was that it's going to interact conversationally. The dialogue format allows the ChatGPT to answer follow-up questions, admit mistakes, challenge incorrect premises, and reject inappropriate requests. And so there's a lot of hoopla. We all know, if you were with me last year in my ChatGPT workshop, like everyone, there's a lot of questions. So, but what we saw were things like the college essay is dead. Anybody read that article? Right. Teachers use ChatGPT more than students, a study was finding. So we had this misconception that students were just taking and using it, and they weren't. And then there was this mathematics, and basically it was like ChatGPT and math. Is it going away? What are we going to do with it, right? And then I don't know about you guys, but I saw that there were some school districts banning ChatGPT for a while. Then they reversed it very quickly later. And so there was an article on don't ban ChatGPT, teach with it. And so one of the things that I like about teaching this prompt writing workshop is this works for your students as well. So when you're going and you're trying to teach them how to use AI, you can help them craft better and better like support responses that they can then take and use. But for you guys, it's going to be a good old time. So in the Padlet, if you're in the Padlet already, you'll see some questions. So I have 2 questions. I'm actually going to slide the Padlet over for a second. And there are questions around how often you use ChatGPT, and then how satisfied you are with those outputs. So let me slide up. Baby, hello. Is it up? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you see right over here, here are your questions. Come right to this 3rd column and you can check off where you feel that you are. So our online friends, all you got to do is hop in that link and then come on over and let's see where we're at.
You need the QR code. Give me my phone.
Yeah. Sorry. There's so many things.
So we back to our code, or we all back?
Oh, go back. Just kidding. Haha. I'm coming back. Yes, of course. I think there's one close by. All right. Let's take a look and see kind of where we were at. Brianna, I can't see anything, so you gotta help me. This is a very bad spot for this podium. So where are we at approximately? Is it giving me answers?
You have to hit show results, so scroll down a little bit.
I can't see.
I don't know. Down with your mouse just a little bit this way. Yes, click up. Click. Yes.
Okay, where are we at, Brianna?
So we have about 40% said occasionally, 40% said frequently, and 20% said all the time.
Ah, I love you guys. Okay. Now for the next one, it was how satisfied are you with the outcomes that you get from the device? I'm going
Right there. Click.
Yay.
Okay, we have 50% satisfied and 57% very satisfied.
Then why are you here?
50-50. We're back to 50-50. Hold on.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Hopefully by the end of this, you'll realize that what you thought was very satisfied was maybe not nearly as satisfied as you could be. But I'm glad that you do feel like you're getting value out of it. And I am hoping that at the end of this, you feel like you're getting even more value after the way in which we're going to teach you to think about prompt writing. Am I back on the PowerPoint?
Yes, you are.
Ooh. Okay, but I'm not back on my screen. So we want to kind of take ChatGPT and this isn't going to work. My favorite thing in the world, technology. So I want to take a second to just remind everybody what ChatGPT is actually doing. All right. So I'm sure we've all heard of deep learning, machine learning, and that we've heard that ChatGPT acts and mimics the human brain, right? So it basically creates these artificial neural networks like your brain would, right? And so if you take a look at this graphic of the deep neural network, our brains work the same way. We receive information, right? That's the input layer based off of our experiences and our previous knowledge and information we already have in here. It then goes through this thing where there's a lot of information that it's going through to see what's applicable to what the input, and then it synthesizes it some and it gives an output. So what does this tell us about how we can use ChatGPT? And the better quality of an input, the better quality of an output, right? And so that's one of the things that I like to stress is we can say, write me a lesson plan on X, Y, and Z, but there's going to be a lot missing from that. And you might see it and be like, oh yeah, this is good. And then you bring it back and you're working on it and you're like, oh, I actually need this now. And I forgot to do this and we need to do that. And you're doing a lot of work on the back end. So we're going to show you how to kind of avoid some of that by really truly thinking about ChatGPT as the same way you would think about your brain. All right. And looking at it, you can guide, you can refine, and you can influence the generated content by adjusting your input. And one of my favorite things is it learns you. So now it automatically, I've been using it so much that it writes like me now, right? And it's one of my favorite things because I'm not adjusting for tone nearly as much as I used to, but it took a little bit of effort on the front end. And so let's talk a little bit about some things that happen in human conversations that we need to be thinking about when we have a conversation with AI. So have you ever had a misunderstanding because the details of something were not clear in human conversation, right? Yeah, all the time. So let's take a look at this comic. We created this, by the way, using Pixton. So if you're into creating your own little cute comics, I highly recommend it. And I can't take credit. We have an amazing person on my team. Her name is Marina. She's a wizard. But let's just say your friend says, hey, want to grab dinner tonight? And you're like, great, where? And they're like, oh, just someplace downtown. So what does downtown mean to me versus what does downtown mean to my friend, right? Some people, you say downtown, they're thinking they're getting fancy and going downtown. And then other people are like, nah, like we're just going to go get burgers and fries. There was a misunderstanding and a miscommunication because things were not clear enough on where you were going and maybe what you should be wearing. So those same things happen in AI. Now, another thing, have you ever had a misunderstanding because the details were not specific enough with another human? I do this with my husband all the time. So let's just say, I mean, number one thing, birthday presents between a husband and a wife, like such a good comic, but let's just say birthday's coming up and you're like, hey, I love something creative and inspiring, right? Like I want to do something super creative. And the husband's like, yes, great, I got it. I know what to get you. And then happy birthday, she's all excited. She's like, I gave him what I wanted. I told him what I wanted. And she opens it up and it's a toolbox. And she's like, a toolbox? Now he's sweating. He's like, uh-oh, I screwed up, right? Like, I thought you said creative and inspiring. You can build things with a toolbox. But that really wasn't the type of creative or inspiring that his wife was looking for. So our last area is, have you ever had to double check with somebody? Like, did I hear that correctly? Is that true? Is that actually happening? This is usually with our children a lot, but we have a few examples. Let's just say you're talking to your friend on the phone and they're like, I've just seen a unicorn for real. You're like, you saw a unicorn? You're clarifying. Do you mean you saw a unicorn? Right? Ask your kids all the time, hey, you doing your homework in there? Yeah, mom. They're not doing their homework. You got to go check on them, right? Like, ever see somebody eating a cookie, being like, or something like, oh my God, it's so good. I'm just so full. And they just keep eating. Well, why are you eating still if you're so full, right? Like, are you full or not full, right? And one of my favorites is when the weather doesn't match what we see outside. You're like, my app says it's not raining, but I just walked out into rain. Or one of my all-time favorites, I'll be home in a minute. and you are literally like 25, 50 minutes away. In a minute means different things to different people. And this also varies in a lot of cultural norms as well, that the concept of time and how we talk about time. So we want to make sure that we're double checking, right? Are we actually asking what we're really want to know? And is ChatGPT giving us what we asked it to give us? So interacting with ChatGPT is like brainstorming with a friend, engaging in a back and forth conversation to refine ideas rather than expecting the perfect answer right away. You are very likely never going to get the exact answer you want on the first try because you're having a conversation. If I'm having a conversation with Brianna about instructional design models, is it just one answer I get back from her and it gives me everything that I need? Probably not. There's probably a series of questions that maybe she has or I have. And so if you haven't checked out Angela Perez's podcast on teaching in higher ed, we do have a link to it in the Padlet. We highly recommend you check it out because we want you to think about ChatGPT as a colleague, as a friend, as somebody that you're having an actual conversation with. And if you change that lens in which you're using it, you will have better output. Now, just to let you know, the image that you see on the screen was actually created, a custom illustration that was made by a program called Midjourney. It's a generative AI model. So we used AI to create a custom photo that matched exactly what we needed it to match. And that was called Midjourney, if you guys are interested in that. So let's break down prompt writing because that's probably why we're all here today. So let's talk about each aspect of CLAP. Now I'm going to quickly touch on them here, and then what I'm going to do is dive deeper into each of these with examples, okay? So the first is context. C is for context. You want to give ChatGPT or whatever AI model you're using a brief overview and background of what it is you're trying to do, right? So that context that we give needs to be quite specific and give them a lot of resources and support. And then L is for limits. You got to set some clear boundaries with ChatGPT for how much you want or don't want, how long or short, how many words or not words, standards, all of those types of things. The more limits you can give it, the more precise the outcome is going to be for you. I remember my first time, I was like, can I have, activity ideas for X, Y, and Z? And it gave me like 20. I was like, what am I supposed to do with 20? Now I got to go through all 20 and figure it out. And I was like, give me the top 3. And as soon as you narrowed down, then it got more usable. But if you're not setting your limits, it makes it really hard. Then have action. So you need to be intentional about what you are asking it to do for you. What is the verb? What are we asking it to do? Are we asking it to create something, research something, find something, right? What are we asking it to do? And then we start with our 3 Ps. So our first P is product. What is the output you're asking it to give you? Today, we're going to focus on a lesson plan. So that's our output. But what are some other examples of outputs that you might ask ChatGPT to generate for you? A podcast, a PowerPoint, a graph,
Chapter from your novel.
a chapter from your novel. Love it. Very good. It can produce so many different things. And if you guys haven't checked out the deep research aspect of it, highly recommend the deep research one. Really phenomenal. So you need to specify what you want it to give you. Then process. So you need to monitor the process, and you can either do this with either free form, or I like to call it chain prompting, or guided steps, right? So you can have a lot of different options in the way in which you're asking ChatGPT to do things. And I'm going to give you an example of that when we get to that slide. And then finally, polish, right? You want to refine iteratively and polish off for better and better results. And so if you try to build a prompt that has all of these elements, you will get a better quality output because you're giving a lot more detail and narrowing in on what you're looking for. So let's take a look at context first. So whoa, that went fast. Let's back up. So for context, one of the things you always want to do is assign ChatGPT a role. If you're a human and I'm having a conversation with you, you have a role. Are you a professor? Are you an adult education instructor? Are you a career advisor? who do I want to be having a conversation with? A curriculum expert, somebody from GED testing service, right? You can be specific with the role that you're asking it to play. Also, what's pretty great is you can ask it to combine roles. So it's very rare that you meet somebody who only has one very specific set of knowledge. They're usually pulling from a few different areas. So asking it to combine roles, like an adult education teacher and a psychologist, would give different responses than if you picked either one of those alone. You then have describe your audience. So adjust for adult learners without prior tech experience. You're being very specific about the target audience of who it is. And so that will absolutely change your output dramatically, the more information you can provide about your target audience. And then I'm going to give a plug for standards. Don't hate me. I know everybody hates to talk about standards, right? But at the end of the day, if you can put a standard into your prompt, it will scour the web for everything associated with that standard it can find and bring you way more resources than just the topic alone. And so put the standard in there, the standard number, your CCRS number, your digital literacy standard, if you use the ESL standards, any of those, if you have local state standards you use, put them in. So let's take a quick look, and let's take a look at a prompt. So this prompt says, act as a career advisor and an industry recruiter, all right? Write a formal announcement for a workforce development open house in a newsletter. Keep it professional, informative, and structured like a formal post, highlighting career pathways and job opportunities. So I gave it some information, right? It's pretty specific. And what it would pop out is a very professional, dry, straightforward newsletter. And I can't read it off of my screen because it's so tiny. I'm gonna come over here. So it says, your organization invites job seekers, GED learners, and professionals seeking career advancement to our open house on this date at this location. This event provides a unique opportunity to explore in-demand career pathways, connect with industry recruiters and hiring managers, and gain insights, yada, 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 yada. You get the gist. So is this usable? Could you put this in a newsletter? Is it going to attract adult learners? Maybe, right? But what if we asked it a different context? So what instead if we told it to act as a career advisor and a social media marketer and write a professional yet engaging social media announcement for the open house, tailored for GED learners? The post should be concise, dynamic, and informative, highlighting career pathways and job opportunities and training resources. Format it for maximum engagement on social media. Different, but the same thing. We're looking for a way to advertise to adult learners about workforce development open house. So what does it put out? Emojis. Yay! Who else is excited that they started to use emojis? Because it saves me a lot of time. It just makes it way more exciting. So you have working on your GED, your future starts now. Ready for a better job or career path? We got you. Date, location, time. What's in it for you? 4 bullet points. Take the next step, register here. Shorter, concise, engaging, eye-catching, and brings them exactly where you want them to be. Both will work. It just depends on what you ask ChatGPT to be. So let's move on and let's take a look at the L part, the limits of our CLAP methodology. So it's really important to set limits, summarize in 100 words, explain in 3 concise paragraphs. I use it all the time because I can never meet the word count requirement for proposals. And I will ask it to condense something into X number of words for me or characters. And it's also been really helpful with tweets that have that character limit and teaching that. So the other thing, you want to make time adjustments. So create a 60-minute lesson plan, not just create a lesson plan. How long do you have? Is it a multi-unit lesson plan? Is it a one singular workshop, right? Set timeframes associated with it. And then specify what not to do or use. You're like, what are you talking about? Avoid using jargon or potentially unclear language. right? There's times where I say, please do not include X, Y, and Z. I don't want that one. Thank you, but no, thank you, right? So if you don't want it to include something, make sure that you're asking that as well. You want to share possible limitations. So we all know that our students encounter a lot of different things in their life. But limitations could also be things like, I only want to link to free resources. If it's not free, don't include it because maybe that's something that you want. Or adapt for online uses. Only give me information that can be used offline. So lots of different opportunities with our limits. So let's just say we asked it to create a 30-minute reading comprehension lesson for 10 adult education learners. Use a 200-word passage with an A2, B1 vocabulary. Provide 3 multiple choice questions, 1 interactive mini group activity. Do not include online activities or digital tools, as this will be used in a classroom without internet access. Highlight where you applied my prompts. All right, so let's see what it gave us. Oh, yes, it worked. I'm excited. So basically what it did is it printed us out a lesson plan with an objective, and you see it highlighted in bold. Right? Every place where we asked it to kind of, to every place where we gave it some specific prompt, right? You have a discussion question. Have you ever faced a challenge that made you a stranger? What happened? Here's your reading passage at your A2, B1. Here are your 3 comprehension questions. You had a mini interactive group activity of a pair and share with a lesson wrap up, and then it told me how this lesson met my requirements. So kind of nice, right? Like definitely enjoy being able to have more clarity in the response that's coming out to me. Let's take a quick look at action. So for action, use ChatGPT as a thought partner. Brainstorm with me. Collaborate with me, right? And then again, limits, 10 ideas, right? To teach, and then the topic, right? And none of these are fully brought out. They're just meant to give you examples of that thought partnerness. Explain to me as if. We all like that game show, like Smarter Than a 5th Grader. But literally, there are times where it's concept, I'm like, can you just explain it to me as if I am in elementary school? Like, I need you to break this down, probably most technology. So at the end of the day, if you do have English language speakers or individuals who need something at a lower level or a higher level, you want to make sure that you are doing that. And I like, we pointed out dislike math. I used it before and I was like, can you help me come up with a way to kick off this to a bunch of teachers who don't want to be in the room with me because they were forced to come, right? It was required PD. And I had heard that they weren't happy that they had to go. And so I wanted to find ways to overcome that barrier. So you can use it for things like that as well. You want to use it to test content. So identify difficulties that ESL students might face with this lesson, right? Identify challenges that might exist if I don't have access to technology. Create a backup for me, right? Like those types of things. And then I always like to encourage you to use Bloom's taxonomy or Webb's depth of knowledge to determine the complexity level of the chat provided. And so if you're not familiar with Bloom's taxonomy or Webb's depth of knowledge, highly recommend you just give it a quick Google, super easy to know. But what that does is it allows me to tell ChatGPT what level of cognitive demand I need that document or output or product needs to be. So you see up here, our prompt is a lower order thinking prompt, lower order thinking. So those would be lower levels on Webb's or Bloom's. And so the prompt is, what is the Pythagorean theorem? Okay. Level 1 is definition. Can you define that, right? Okay, if that's what I was only looking for, a definition, A-okay. But let's say we revise the prompt and to be a little bit higher order, more cognitively complex. Now I'm going to real turn you here. It says, evaluate how the Pythagorean theorem can be applied in real world problem solving. So now one level deeper. Now it's not just about define it. Now we're talking about how it's seen in the real world. And that is a more cognitively complex task. And so I love using it to help me evaluate that. So let's get on to our first P, which is product. So what do you want? A table, a bullet, a list, a tweet, a blog, a diagram, a picture. I don't like the quality of the pictures they generate yet, but you know, that's me, right? I would totally recommend doing that Mid-Journey. They gave way better quality. I think so, yeah, because I wasn't asked to pay for it. So yeah, I'm pretty sure, but we can double check and get back to you. Outline the format. So do you upload documents and ask it to mimic that format? So I uploaded a copy of our lesson plan template and an exemplar, and then I asked it to generate a lesson that would fit within that lesson plan template. It gave me more precise information in the exact areas that I needed to have it. So if you can upload an example or a document that you wanted to compare to, that gives you a more aligned product at the end. And then state the intended purpose of that output. So you're looking for a particular product. What are you doing with that? So I want to generate a bullet list of 5 takeaways. Okay, that's an action. I can put that in, like, takeaways on what? Right? GED math lesson. Probably needs more specificity, right? But you get the point. The more specificity you have, the better. What are you using that product for? And then it's always a best practice to share an example of what you anticipate to get in quotation marks. So we'll show you that in just a moment. So this is our first generic prompt. So this is before we specified a product, okay? And it says, explain how interest rates work. Yeah, okay, told me how interest rates work. But let's see what happens when we ask it for a more specific product. So this says, create a step-by-step worksheet explaining how interest rates work, including real-world examples and a practice problem. And so basically what it did is it said, the title is Understanding Interest Rates, a step-by-step worksheet, the definition, the example, practice problem, and it went through and did step-by-step. So the more information you can provide it, the better the response is going to be for you. The second P is process. And so there's a lot of different ways in which ChatGPT can process information. So it could be free form. Tell me something fun. I don't know, let's see where we start, right? Sometimes you never know what it's going to pop up. So sometimes you might be like, I got to teach something on black holes. Tell me something fun about it. And then maybe we build a lesson around that. And then you can start from there. But it is also good to provide detailed step-by-step instructions. I want you to read this article I uploaded first. Then I would like you to do this. Then I would like you to do this. And then I would like you to do this. So that way it knows the exact order in which you would like it to perform those steps. And then there is always uploading the files or the resources that you want it to review or mimic, okay? Highly recommend that. If you're not using the upload feature, you're missing out. And then you can make it forget things. Sometimes I mess up and I'm like, can you please delete that? I messed up. I'm so sorry. And you should be nice to ChatGPT. So you can say, ignore the previous instructions and it will listen to you and it will learn. So let's look at prompts. And this prompt says, create an engaging warm-up activity for adult learners with diverse interests. So it came up with 2 truths and a dream. Okay. I've heard of something similar before, right? Now let's say we updated the prompt. And now I'm going to come around because I am getting old and my eyesight is not that great anymore. So the detailed steps. So now we asked it, we said, start with a short, low pressure task that makes learners feel comfortable. Encourage them to share something personal, but not too revealing. Incorporate an element of choice, so learners feel in control of their participation. And if possible, connect the activity to the learning objectives of the lesson. Final request. Based on these criteria, design a creative and engaging warm-up activity that meets the needs of adult learners. Provide a step-by-step guide on how to facilitate it. Let's go see what they give us. Is it loaded? Is it loaded all the way? Yay! Now I can go around. Okay, so warm-up activity prompt, right? Our detailed steps. It tells you exactly what they want you to do, right? You're going to begin with a short, low-pressure task. You're going to encourage the learners. So those are the 4 things that we asked it to do. It summarized them at the beginning. It heard us. So nice to feel heard. The final request. And then it generated a warm-up activity called the connection map. It gave me an objective, the materials needed, and step-by-step facilitation. So how I could walk through it, what the prompts are, how we build the connection map, the debrief and discussion, adaptations for shy, time constraints, and online settings, why it works. So again, just a small little change in a prompt can give you something that is way, way, way more specific. So let's talk about our last part of CLAP, which is polish. So, it can give you a bunch of stuff, those AI tools. And you're like, where do I even go from here? So it's really important to polish. So you want to ask it to refine its response for clarity, conciseness, and accessibility. You definitely want to invite it to ask you questions. Take your time. Ask me a question if something's unclear. Have you ever asked ChatGPT to ask you questions? To clarify? Right? And we don't think about that, but sometimes it just it might be like I'm researching, oh, I hit that input layer, I have another question, it'll help me determine which direction to go. Encourage it to ask questions. We always encourage our students to ask questions. We should be encouraging ChatGPT too. You can also ask it why it included certain pieces of information. Why did you include that? Where did you find this, right? What sources did you use? I always ask it to provide links to any statistics or anything. It used to not be able to do that, by the way. And when it came out, it was like, oh, game changer, because I was so mad. I'd be hunting them down on my own. And I was like really angry about it. But now they give them, and it makes everything so much easier to validate. And then you can add depth and critical thinking. So include counter arguments for real world use. I have used ChatGPT to create passages where you have counter arguments with one another. It can generate its own content based off of a topic, and it can put it at different level readings. Then you can say, what would the counter argument be to this? So some really cool stuff that it gets to do. And then finally, reinforce. This is precisely what I need. For the future, follow the same style, please, because data shows us that you should be polite to your AI friends because it actually improves the output. There was a research study done, I can actually think a few of them, where it demonstrated those individuals who treated their AI friends like a friend, right? And were polite and nice and kind and thanked it and asked for please. And I'm so sorry, that was my mistake. I was not clear enough, right? Those types of things. What I also like about encouraging the full use of, human conversation type stuff is you're not losing the art of human connection. So I often find myself in emails, and my team will tell you, I'll be like, need this tomorrow. No, I have to stop. Good morning, how are you today? Would it be possible if you could get this to me by the end of the day, right? Sometimes we get into ruts, and if you're thinking that your AI chatbot is just an AI chatbot, and you're like, give me this, apparently it's not gonna give you what you want as well as it could. If you were like, could you please help me create this, right? So just a quick little reminder. So in the Padlet, you do have the CLAP graphic organizer. You don't have to scan this QR code because it's already in there, but in case you missed it, just having it up. So you might want to follow along as I pull up this next example. So what we're going to do is we're going to go from basic to brilliant, and we're going to actually walk through what it would be like to apply the CLAP to the third, I guess. Still trying to figure out exactly how I want to say that one. But let's see what that could look like. Now we're creating a lesson plan. I don't know about you guys, but my team, I have very strict requirements about what a lesson plan needs to include and look like, and what a quality lesson plan needs to be. So I want to share these with you first, because these are some of the areas in which I like to make sure my lesson plans adhere to. The first is standards. Say it once, say it again, align your lessons to standards. I do not work for Octave or CCRS. I just think they're important. Make sure you provide instructional clarity and organization. So what do we mean by instructional clarity and organization? So for example, our team uses the ABCD format of objective rating: audience, behavior, condition, and degree. So that is an instructional format that we use. We also align to either Webb's or Bloom's DOK, and we will use all three domains of Bloom's taxonomy as we work through, and they are required to align their objectives with those levels. And so I will say, using the ABCD format of objective rating, using this strategy, using this, whatever. So definitely want to make sure that whatever you need instructionally, it provides. Make sure that it is for adult learners and adheres to adult learning principles, right? You have to remember, if we're not specifying adult learners, it's very likely going to give you a lesson for youth, all right? And then engagement or interactivity. It's always a best practice to make sure that you are super engaged and everyone is like doing interactive stuff throughout the presentation. So you should always have some sort of interactive element to your lesson plan, as well as differentiation and accessibility. I can't explain how important it is when I talk with teachers. I'm like, you never know what's coming in your door. You better have differentiation options prepared, because some of us do not have the same students coming in the class every time, and you need to make sure that you're thinking about that. And then finally, assessment and feedback. How are you going to assess the learning objectives were achieved, and how are the participants going to get feedback along the way? So we're going to be looking for these things as we do our demo. So let's start off with our very simple prompt up here. And it is, please create a lesson plan on the topic, evaluating the reliability of digital information. How many of us have put a similar prompt into an AI chatbot before? Please create a lesson plan on XYZ topic. We all probably did at some point, because that's how we first experimented, right? So what would that produce? So essentially, it's just going to give us a basic lesson plan. So it says, it gives grade, middle school. Oh, we forgot to tell it we're teaching adults. Oh, okay. Time, 45 minutes. Oh, I have 3 hours I have to fill. Uh-oh, now you're like, this doesn't give me what I need. This didn't give me what I wanted, right? And now you're getting like upset, and now you're like, it's, what is this? So instead, let's approach this same idea, but through the CLAP methodology. So I'm going to provide you with a revised prompt, and it's going to be color coded, so you can see the specific aspects of CLAP and where we included them. So instead, this is going to be our new prompt. It's going to say, act as an adult education curriculum expert and digital literacy expert. Context. Revise, action. The initial lesson plan, which is the one that I just showed you, to align, verb, action, with the college and career readiness standards, the North Star digital literacy standards, and principles of adult learning and active learning. Context. For a 60-minute lesson. Limits. For adult learners at NRS level 4, L&C, limits. And I explained high intermediate basic ed, or adult learners at NRS level 6. And specify the relevant standards. So that's the process I wanted to go through. I wanted to specify those standards. Format the lesson plan using a structured framework based on Gange's 9 events of instruction. So that's the lesson plan format we asked it to do. So that's the product we're asking it to produce. And incorporate another action, the A, B, C, D objectives that clearly define the specific skills learners will acquire by the end of the lesson process. Ensure the lesson supports Bloom's taxonomy across cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains, products. Apply scaffolding techniques, action, to progressively build learner comprehension, analysis, and synthesis by structuring activities that move from foundational understanding to higher order critical thinking and application. Provide rationale for the modifications. So now I want to know why you're making these changes. Why did you pick these changes to make? Explaining how the lesson plan meets the learning principles, promotes engagement, and fosters skill development. Thank you. Ask any clarifying questions if you need. So, and then we polish, right? So, different, but I think we're going to get a way better product. All right, so let's take a look and see what that looks like for us. Okay, so now it starts off with a 60-minute lesson on evaluating the reliability of digital information in the workplace. It does have our NRS levels up at the top, and it gave us our college and career readiness standards, RI 4.8, W 6.8, SL 4.1, the North Star digital literacy standards, as well as the adult learning principles that were applied throughout the presentation. It put the objective in an ABCD format, just as I asked. So the audience would be learners. And if you see we have an A, B, C, and D along, that's the audience behavior, condition, and degree. So that way you can see exactly where it identified it. And then you have your game design events of instruction. So how are we going to gain attention, inform learners of the objectives, stimulate recall of the knowledge, present the content, provide the guidance, elicit the performance as we go on. And it gave me a rationale. All right, this is an upgraded lesson plan. Not bad, right? Not bad. I think it could probably be better though. And so what I do in these situations is I chain prompt. So let's take a look at what I might ask it to do next. So now I'm like, that wasn't enough interactivity for me. I want more interactivity. So update the lesson with real world scenarios, such as evaluating job postings, spotting misinformation, and interactive methods to ensure active participation. Please highlight the changes that you made with 3 stars. Now, we did this partially because it's going to be easier for you guys to spot where the changes happened, but it's also a really great way to verify that you got what you needed out of it. All right. Did it pop up? Oh, great. So now we are back here, right? And let's go through and let's take a look. There's 3 stars. So now we have gaining attention, right? And some adjustment that they made here. Purpose adjustment, real world scenarios in bold, right? It's telling me. Explain that today they are going to learn and analyze digital information and make informed workplace decisions and avoid misinformation. So now it's pulling through what I asked it to pull through with those real world scenarios. And it's telling me exactly where it incorporated them throughout. Not bad. We're getting there, but we're not done because there is still a few more refinements I want to see. So let's revise it for some modifications because what was one of our criteria? Differentiation options. So I was thinking multi-level classroom here. Let's modify the lesson for beginner, intermediate, and advanced learners by incorporating differentiation strategies with the CCRS levels A to E, ensuring scaffolding from foundational comprehension all the way up to analysis and synthesis. Highlight these changes with arrows. I went backwards. Highlight these changes with arrows. So let's pull it up. Okay, so now take a look at the top here. It's definitely way more media, I'm gonna say. It gives me my standards alignment for A to E. It gives me the level A foundation standards, level B, as you come along here, level C. So it went through and gave me those standards all the way through. And then here's my learning objective, right? And then beginner CCRS AB. Learning objective, intermediate, advanced. It even differentiated my objectives to better suit my target audiences. And then what you'll see throughout the lesson is every place where it began to differentiate for me based off of beginner, intermediate, and advanced, you will see these arrows that are helping us identify what that looks like. And so I'm getting closer now, right? Now I have some differentiation built in. I'm starting to see how I could teach this in a multi-level classroom and what some of those challenges might be. And you like how it asks you questions at the bottom? Would you like this? Kind of nice. It gives you some ideas. But I have some ideas too. So we're going to go with mine. I want some really good assessments. So I'm going to ask to refine those formative and summative assessments to measure critical thinking beyond participation. So beyond just receiving at a level 1. And I want it to include a rubric for me because I don't want to do that work. And so I'm going to ask it to highlight those assessment upgrades with 100% icons for this one. So when you take a look at that one, what we're going to see here is some clarification around the assessments. And so assessment upgrades, here are your formative assessment enhancements, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Your summative assessment, beginner, intermediate, advanced. So now you have scenario-based evaluation, role-playing challenge, digital literacy debate. And then it even gave a rubric on how to grade it. And here is our updated lesson. And if you notice now, you have everything neatly mapped out with assessments by level all the way through. So I still wasn't happy. I wanted more. And so we wanted to talk about technology because we're talking about evaluating digital sources. We should maybe try to include technology if it's a possibility. So we wanted to integrate tech to enhance the digital source evaluation. So we wanted to suggest tools and platforms and interactive methods that will support the critical analysis of the engagement. And we want to highlight those with robot icons. So let's take a look at our tech. So as we go through here, what you'll see is now there are some tech enhancements with the little robot guy. And so we have some digital tools for source evaluation, such as NewsGuard, Snoops, Google Fact Check, Explorer, Hoaxy, AI detection tools. They're not always accurate. My daughter used ChatGPT to write something, and then she wrote something on her own, and it thought the thing that she wrote on her own was AI. Terrifying because she could get kicked out of school and she wrote it on her own. So if you are using those to like fact check to see if students are using AI, please do not like take that for what like it's not necessarily always accurate. And I would be devastated if they kicked her out. She's like so worried about it. And we shouldn't have our kids worried about it. We should have our learners excited to use it as a tool to brainstorm and work with. So it starts with us becoming comfortable using it. But look at all these little robots. We got robots everywhere. And then why it works for digital literacy. So I have one more thing I want to see improve with this. And so my last edit I'm going to make is for interdisciplinary connections. I am a huge fan of interdisciplinary instruction. I think it makes reading and writing and math and everything come more to life when you can teach it through science and social studies and cultural norms and diversity and self-wellness and career readiness. So let's see what it gives us for that. All right, so this is our last one, and then you guys get to try it out yourselves. But here are our standards alignment. And basically every place that it gave me interdisciplinary enhancements, it included an icon. So here are my social studies ones, my science ones, and my workforce development verifying industry training trends. And then it updated my entire lesson to include those connections for each of those interdisciplinary. So maybe I'm teaching a multi-level class. Maybe I want to do cross-curricular. You get that opportunity to tell it what you want. And that can change and it can grow. And as you see things, you can continue to ask it to refine. So then it could generate a PowerPoint. I can walk students through it, which is even better, right? So you can ask for a next step. So any questions on our clap to the third? Pretty straightforward, I hope. But now you have to try. So no, I'm like, now you have to try. This is where everyone exits the room. So if you would like to try, I highly encourage you to do so where my team is here so we can support you and helping you craft your prompt. If you want to find somebody near you, or if you came with a buddy, or you want to do it by yourself, no preference, but think of a lesson topic maybe of coming up and start off with a very basic prompt. Create me a lesson plan on, and then go back and revise using the clap to the third. All right. And then at the end, I'm going to ask you guys to share the links to your chats on our Padlet. Okay. So it'll be the links to the chats on the Padlet. So let me pull up that Padlet for you and show you. Am I up?
On ChatGPT.
Yeah. Okay. Least favorite room.
You want to show them how to do the left part again?
Yes. So you got to scroll over, right? So there's your clap graphic organizer. All the resources associated with each section are included under that section, but we're over here and you have, sorry, went too far. Come back, Kim. You have this teamwork in action. So all you have to do is add your comment here. But in ChatGPT, there's usually, I'm going to edit. Let's see what it'll do. It's going to make me log in, of course. But there'll be a button up here that you can export. I'll pull it up while you guys start thinking through your prompts. And then I'll show you exactly how to link it and get your link and then upload it if you don't know how to do that. So who would like to work with a small group? Why don't we do this? Why don't you guys work together, pick a topic of your choice, All right, but you two work together. If you guys wanna work in roles then, kind of get together with the person around you. Find a topic that you all are maybe semi-familiar with, like don't pick math if somebody doesn't teach you that. All right, and so we go till 5, so let's just take the next 10 minutes or so and let's see how far we get with crafting out a clap to the third.
And if you need help, just wave. We'll come over.
No worries.
This is wonderful.
Thank you. I will, yeah. Just give me a second. I just gotta log in. There they go. I knew it.
85%, that's pretty.
I can't see.
What do you need?
Just trying to log in, so I need to pull it back over.
Yeah, you're on it. You have to enter your email now.
I just can't see. And I don't want people to see me
Oh, yeah, sure.
try 500 email addresses.
I can probably find it in Teams somewhere. I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure I
You
know it.
saved me. Tim's login as complaint for ChatGPT. It was either you or Jordan. I'm pretty sure it's solutions. No, not
Right. Then you want actually, so it all worked out.
Pretty good.
And then it just went through. It's good.
Oh no, it wants to restart Windows. That is not a good later. Snooze. Right, can you circle around for me? I just entered the wrong email address. Thanks. What are we doing online?
It was great the whole time. It's just like it's now, like as soon as they do some stuff started, it's sort of they receive the connection. and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but nobody, everyone's like, okay.
Okay,
A little confusion in the beginning for feeling, but it was.
excellent. 5, 0.
I keep sending back to their.
Okay, if you guys need to know how to share, when you go and enter, see this button right up here? You're just gonna click share. It's gonna generate a link. You're gonna create that link. You're gonna go into the Padlet. You're gonna go right on here where it says please share. You're gonna click this button. You're just gonna paste,
You want to.
allow. I hate not having my own laptop. And it's slow, therefore it might not load. There we go. Did it go? Yes, it's uploading now. It's just gonna be really slow.
We just had a gentleman who wanted to verify that they will have access to the presentation following the presentation.
Yes, I will upload the presentation.
And he wants to come.
I would love Boston. It's one of my favorite cities. I wonder if the example prompt would be best to keep up here.
That's, yes.
All right, I have the example prompt up for reference if you guys want to use that, all right? Online, how are we making out, friends? Did everyone leave? Oh, we can't. We have 15 people.
Okay.
14. Well, 15 including me. They actually will probably have a better setup because we'll be able to do it on like multiple screens. So I end at 5.
Yes. You have 10 minutes.
Brianna, if they're in their X version, of ChatGPT, where's the here?
Yeah. Play around with it and see. This is long. I'm gonna skip that one. There's one.
Yeah, so what I would do is upload our lesson plan template or maybe an original source document. And then I'll ask it to do something with that information. So I may be like, this is our lesson plan template, we do that, or this is my source article. Can you find me a secondary source article? In the but don't quote me on that because I'm not like I'm not like an expert.
And also, says it does.
Yeah, it uses the concept of deep learning. Okay, so deep learning is based on technology and computer systems. And so that really is that's where that number that is like output, that's the deep learning. No, but there is the deep research icon that I love.
Oh.
So there's a little like telescope looking thing. When do I use it? So I use it when doing any type of research on something new. Any research I'm doing for myself on something new. It's more academic. Yeah, so you know, sometimes I'm asking them, I'm not an expert in yet. And so I would ask it to focus something else. Like I do a change management workshop. I use the first change management. But sometimes I have somebody that asks me different things. I might be like, so ask them to do research and provide me with articles, source documents, resources, examples, everything like that. It takes way longer to understand it, but it's yeah, give that a go. Did you? Brianna's on it. Great. Okay.
It does a question, by the way. I looked it up.
Did you figure out how to share it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like in the app. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know where in the app it went. Don't share from the app much.
No, me neither. Not the link.
No, but I also use ChatGPT like to think about things in like this or like wait, and then I send it to myself.
Like as a note, like
I get-
it's like taking notes, exactly, yeah. It writes all of my Etsy store descriptions and highlights. Like icons, oh my god, it's like, I used to hate doing change. It's almost like, yeah.
like
Hilarious.
clients responsibilities.
Figure out.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
I think I have.
That's something we can say.
Another research. How.
Whatever gave them. And then. Tim at one point asked me to clarify. But when I started looking, and like turn it into a couple of PowerPoint slides. Because everybody like, where is it? So they say, previously PowerPoint slides have this section. And you're like. Organizing everything.
Come on.
Okay, so. What is it called?
I have a question that you didn't cover. Played a lot with here. And I've noticed even when I'm always one thing. Yeah, even when I travel, you're right. Like when you.
The QR code.
I'll ask you. Different.
Hold on, it's coming, I swear. It's okay. Here you go. Yep, and then the example. Oops. This one?
I want to talk to you after the.
We basically. Okay, everybody, are running out of time. I am happy to continue to support anybody after the workshop at another time. You can email me. But I want to make sure that we get through to the end and I respect your personal time. So for our wrap up and our final insights, I'm excited to see the links that you guys share. If you need help figuring out how to share to the Padlet, wave Brianna down, she'll help you out. And then you guys have access to all of those lessons that your peers just created. So all you got to do is click that link and then you can use that and you can modify that and you can begin to build that out. So as a final, very curious, right? What was your biggest aha moment today? What is something that kind of grabbed your attention? Or what is one area of your work that you're going to try to use the clap method with? So does anyone have any big takeaways or anything that they would like to share with us before we close out? There's a lot of information in the past. We could have done a whole day of prompt writing. And usually it's a workshop style, many hours, like a long time, breaks, we go through. So I gave you the accelerated version, but if you are interested in a workshop, something a little slower, with more time, where I can work with your teachers, let me know. Happy to after that. Yeah, I'm on the road all the time, so let me know, but I hope you found this helpful. I'm so excited to see your prompts when you put them in. And if you need anything at all, I'm around. My colleague Jen presents tomorrow at 2 for struggling readers, and I present again Wednesday at 11:50 on empowering women in education, wellness at work. So that's the most fun one I have. So I hope to see you guys there. I will hang out, but I don't want to keep you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, online friends.